When the system crashes and the president freaks out, who would have thought that the solution would come from where it was least expected? The caretaker's daughter. It all started one morning when the tension was almost palpable in the company. Screens were flashing madly. Servers were issuing shrill alerts, and the company's central system, the same one that controlled million-dollar operations around the world, simply stopped responding in a matter of seconds. Officials at all levels began to run, scream, and sweat in the midst of the chaos. Dapper man with gray hair and a weathered face burst into the server room, his eyes wide. He was the president, and he knew that with every second that passed the company was losing thousands of reis. What the hell is going on here? He yelled, banging loudly on the door. No one knew how to give a concrete answer. The engineers were stiff, their fingers trembling over the keyboards. IT managers kept saying that the system was compromised from within, as if someone had sabotaged the internal commands. The president could not accept that possibility, not after having invested millions in security. Find the person responsible now. If this isn't resolved in 10 minutes, more than 100 contracts will go down the drain. His voice thundered, as eyes averted in fear. It was then that, silently, a girl entered the room. She was about 10 years old, with loose hair, a white t-shirt, and very focused eyes. Nobody paid much attention to her at first. It was just Livia, the daughter of Jose, the caretaker, that nice man who always went unnoticed. But she didn't come to play, she came determined. The first to notice her presence were the technicians. One of them, confused, approached to expel her, but he couldn't even speak. The girl was already sitting in front of one of the computers, analyzing lines of code. His fingers moved quickly, as if he knew exactly what he was looking for. One of the supervisors arrived abruptly. "Hey, what do you think you redoing? This is no place for children," he said in a growl. But Livia didn't even move. Her eyes continued scanning the screens. The president, who was already on the verge of a nervous breakdown, saw the scene and exploded. "Who let this brat in? Get that girl out of here right now." But then, when one of the security guards was about to touch her, a technician stopped him with his hand raised. Wait. What she just did is impossible," he whispered. The screens, one after the other, began to recover the connection. Some systems responded. For the first time in almost half an hour, everyone's eyes were fixed on the girl. He slowly turned to the technician and, in a firm, calmer voice, said, "Your code has a backdoor exposed in the Access API. Someone exploited it from within the internal network, and it wasn't a system error, it was someone from here." The silence that followed was deathly. The president approached, still unable to believe what he was hearing. Livia looked at the screen again and typed a few more commands. Immediately, a man's name appeared in highlight. A user of the system, a trusted employee. The president's face disfigured when he saw the evidence. All eyes were now on him. How was it possible that that girl knew that before? Her own team of security guards? Experts? "Who are you?" one of the directors asked in a trembling voice. She stood up from her chair, looked down and said calmly, "I'm Livia, the daughter of Mr. Jose, the caretaker. The same one you would let in the front door." The same one your systems chief called useless. I came with him all afternoon. As he cleaned, I watched and learned. If the story is catching you, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment what you think. The president took a step back. He couldn't understand how a little girl had exposed a flaw that would have taken his engineers days to discover. But before he could react, the internal security alarm sounded. Someone was trying to erase the system logs, and at the same time the cameras showed a suspect fleeing through the back hallway of the building. The girl pointed to the screen. There goes the person responsible, and if they don't catch him now, he'll erase everything and blame my father. Everyone froze. The caretaker, who had just arrived at the scene, looked at his daughter with tears in his eyes. But the worst was just beginning. One of the directors raised his voice. This cannot leak. Turn off the system now. And with that they turned off the screens, leaving everyone in darkness. Delete everything. Don't let anyone say another word, ordered the same director with a broken voice. Well, several officials looked to the president for guidance. The entire room was silent, but the air was thick with suspicion, tension, and fear. The caretaker quickly approached his daughter, holding her by the shoulders, as if he wanted to protect her from what was to come. But she wasn't afraid. He kept his gaze fixed on those responsible, especially in that group of executives who until recently were completely unaware of its existence. The president, now visibly nervous, picked up his cell phone, walked to a corner of the room while speaking in a low voice, but everyone knew he was calling someone with a lot of power. Olivia, with a firm voice, broke the silence. If they turn off the cameras and erase the records, they will not protect the company. They will destroy the last bit of credibility they have left. Everyone present looked at each other. No one had the courage to answer. The directors, who had previously given orders with arrogance, now avoided looking her in the eye. One of the system's supervisors quietly approached the janitor and whispered, "What your daughter did is amazing, but now they're going to want a silence. They're afraid it'll get out." The janitor, who had been cleaning floors in silence for years, gritted his teeth. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he had something to lose, not for himself, but for her. "Then we're not going to keep quiet," he replied as his daughter looked at him proudly. The president hung up the call and came back with a forced smile. "It was just a minor glitch. There is no need to exaggerate. Everyone can go back to their posts," he announced, trying to control the narrative. But a woman from the legal department stepped forward. "That's not true." The girl identified an unauthorized access, and we all saw it. "If this gets out and it's proven that we tried to hide it, we could face charges of obstruction of justice," she said, looking directly at the president. He paled, but then a new tragedy shook the room. One of the engineers, shaking, announced that the suspect had deleted a critical part of the system before fleeing. The losses were incalculable. The president's face twisted with fury, and, with a dry look, he addressed the janitor. "This is your fault. You and your daughter brought chaos. She should never be here." Everyone froze. Not only was he blaming a child, but he did it with hatred in his voice. The girl lowered her head, but not out of shame. She was processing every word. It was then that the woman from the legal department spoke again. What he's saying doesn't make sense. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't even know where to begin to fix this. I'm going to report this directly to the board. This is no longer a technical failure, but a cover-up, she stated with determination. All eyes turned to the president. He no longer had control. The girl stepped forward. Can I restore part of the system? I saved an automatic backup without anyone noticing. If they give me access again, I could do it, but I need someone to support me. Officially, she said, looking at the lawyer who felt her without hesitation. I authorize you, he replied. The caretaker shook his daughter's hand. For the first time, she was being valued for who she really was. With the system half restored, the files started returning one by one. The intrusion records clearly reappeared. The suspect's face has been confirmed. Was none other than João Pedro, the head of systems, who had left the country 2 days ago, claiming an urgent meeting. All the evidence pointed to him. The company was officially notified. An internal and external investigation has been initiated. The president was immediately suspended. Weeks later, the janitor was promoted to general maintenance supervisor with entry through the front door. Her daughter, on the direct recommendation of the legal department, was accepted into a special young talent program in cybersecurity with a full scholarship. On the day they signed the agreement, all the employees gave her a standing ovation, even those who had previously ignored her. Just said one sentence. Never underestimate someone just because of how they look or where they come from. The former president faced legal consequences for cover-up and negligence, and the systems chief was arrested overseas for corporate fraud. The company regained its stability, but it was never the same again. The caretaker and his daughter taught everyone a lesson that was engraved forever. You never know who is behind the mask. Appearances can be deceiving, but respect and dignity must always be non-negotiable. Yeah.